Well, and then here's one that is as big as they come, an epic of a, you know, on a scale that is just extraordinary. And how do you sit down to put the first note on paper with something where you're creating a world for Pandora and a musical culture for the Na'vi and incorporating all of it into a score?
Yeah, all my talk about working on intimate projects and projects of the heart, and then I do all these other things as well. But in the working with Jim Cameron is very interesting. I'm sure you'll show a clip of Titanic at some point. When we first started working together, that was on Aliens. I was doing low-budget films in California, and Jim was a cameraman. We were working for the same low-budget film company. He was an editor and a cameraman. And his first feature film was Aliens, which he wrote. And we did it in England, and it was very difficult for the both of us. Things went very slowly for him with the special effects, and he was used to churning things out fast. Things were going very slowly, and I came to England, and he was still working on the film, and I had come to start writing the music, and the film wasn't ready for the music yet. And that whole experience of working that way under that compressed time with Jim was very interesting and it was difficult and very intense. And then he went on to make all his famous movies, and most of them were sort of quasi-electronic scores, and didn't have much interest for me. And then he went on to make certainly Titanic, Avatar. On Avatar, since we've just played it, he wanted something that was ethnic. He wanted something that was tribal. He wanted music that he had never heard before anywhere. And I had to come up with colors and instruments that were almost all electronic or vocal. And then I would sample them and I'd play them all. So everything you hear is me primarily improvising or playing. In the chorus, I overdubbed 3 women 20 times, so they sound like this, and the harmony was very sort of semi-African, but not. And all the colors were very carefully controlled. And Jim was a unique customer, so to speak, in that he wants emotion, but yet he doesn't. He's afraid of violins. He hates violins. Whenever we work together, he says, remember, no violins. And no, I don't want a big love theme. And I don't want this and I don't want that. And then in the course of the film, slowly, he starts asking for it, bit by bit. And it gets put into the film, sprinkled into the film in its own way. Avatar was uniquely difficult because it was all orchestrated with such an interesting type of orchestration. My job in Avatar was really to make the music as beautiful sounding. I'm not talking about compositions, good compositions. I'm talking about making it beautiful sounding, as good as as beautiful sounding as the visuals were beautiful looking. That was my job. The music had to sound just as stunning as the visuals looked. I felt that responsibility. And that was really how I worked my way through Avatar. And Avatar went from a 4.5-hour movie down to a 2-hour movie. And there was music written for the full 4.5 hours, and we had to reorganize it and cut it and fix it and re-record and stuff. And what you see is Avatar. But it was also very unique type of orchestration. I'm sort of wandering a bit to give you sort of a bit of perspective on all these famous guys. They're all artists. Jim is sort of unique in that I saw him shooting Avatar, and now what he's done is it's like the iPhone. Jim invented Avatar and unleashed the CGI world of filmmaking. I mean, he'd done it in Titanic, but not like Avatar. And now every film, CGI, I would hate to be a CGI director because you would have to outdo yourself on every film. They get the CGI effects, get better and better, but you also start to get used to them by looking at them. And with Jim, he's very different. I remember when he was shooting Avatar, was the first person to do this. He would have people in these black, I'm sure by now you've all heard of how this process goes, where people wear these black suits with dots and the motion is picked up by animation. Okay. He's the first, and what he then does is he renders the scene right instantly through the computer, and you're watching it in a very primitive form in the style of Avatar figures. You're not watching people in black suits with red dots on them. You're watching primitive Avatar figures moving. Then what he does is he reprojects the film onto a monitor, which is a camera, and he makes all the moves going around the canyons, going up and over, and Jim ends up being the cameraman as well as the director. He reshoots on top of the entire film, and that's how Avatar was put together. And it's an amazing process, because when I would go down to after the actors had gone, he spent 4 months just on a stage with wooden things, so he would walk around watching his movie on this monitor, and he would carry it, and he was watching it and refilming as he was moving the monitor around, and he did that for 4 months. It's amazing what the process was. But in so doing, he unleashed 1,000 ships. Everybody is doing films like that now. And it's much like, I use the example of the iPhone. Apple is going to have to be very clever. They invented a stunning device that Samsung, everybody imitated. And they all have their own version of the iPhone. But the iPhone was the first to do it. And to invent something new now is going to be very difficult. Same thing for Jim. And he has to do Avatar 2 now, he's committed to, and Avatar 3, whatever it is. It's a real thing, and the effects of Avatar are so much different than the effects that we did in Titanic.
Do you want to watch a scene of Titanic now?
Sure, if you like. Yeah.
I think everybody would like to.